Becky Sewell is one of the really great lifestyle evangelists in our church. And I just want her to tell us a little bit about how she does, what she does, and I think you'll find it very inspiring. So, Becky, I know there's been a lot of people that through the years, God's kind of put on your heart and you've reached out and you've touched them. How's that work? How does God speak to you about who to talk to? And you can't talk to everyone.
I usually get up of a morning pretty early and do my Bible study because I know I need that for the day. And during my prayer time, the Lord might bring someone to my mind or a few people. And I also pray about our teachers, and I pray for the students I'm going to have that day, so that I always want to represent Him well. And I know that's kind of it was kind of overwhelming for me to start that, but I decided to do that anyway. I don't spend a lot of time on each person, but then the Lord brings people to my mind that maybe I might see that day, and then I can talk to them.
Now, it takes some courage to do that.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, but you haven't been afraid to, and God's used that. Tell us about a time when, it just took some courage to bring something up, but then great things came out of that. I know there's been several.
Well, there was a lady who left our school, has since left our school, and it was coming towards summertime, and I thought to myself, I haven't ever asked her if she's a Christian or if she knows Christ. And I decided that I was going to take that step because I had never found a time when it would be comfortable for me. So she was walking down the hall, and I just hit her out the door and said, "Can I ask you a question? It's a personal question, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but I just have to know because you've been on my mind and my heart." And she said, "Sure." She looked real serious, and I said, "Has there ever been a time when you've asked Christ into your life?" And she said, "Oh, yes, I have done that." I said, "Well, that's great." I said, "I just wanted, for my own personal self, I needed to know that because I want everybody to know about Christ." So it made me feel good. And then about 2 or 3 years later, she called me and asked me if I would pray for her father who was having surgery, and I said, "Of course I will." And I took that opportunity to go over to her house, and we talked, and I got to talk further with her about Christ and prayed with her. And then her dad got better, and that was an answered prayer for her, I think. So
that's neat. I've noticed several times you don't just talk to somebody and then forget about them. You have a way of kind of becoming a friend, and if you need to go to their house, if you need to take a meal, you do that. So you're underscoring your words with your actions, and that makes a lot of difference, doesn't it?
It does. I think it does, and it also, I always think, what would I want somebody to do for me? And I try to do that for someone. Or I know there's been, like even today, I wrote a letter to my friend at school. Came up and said, "My mom is 85. And, I don't know if she knows Christ." He said, "She's a good Catholic." That's. And I thought, you know what? I wonder if she does know Christ. And I sat down today and wrote her the plan of salvation out because I just need to know that at least she has a chance to hear. And I don't have anything to do with that. But I called him and I said, "I need your mom's address, if you don't mind." Today I said, "I wrote her a letter, and is it okay if I send it? It's about Christ." And he said, "Oh, yes, that would be great." So, you make connections at school, and then, you find out about parents, and I don't know. I just think the Lord helps me. I just ask Him to help me write what I need to write, and I put that in the mail today.
All right. You touch on a good point that almost anyone that isn't walking with God or hasn't been saved, they've probably got somebody somewhere praying for them, somebody that wishes someone would talk to them.
Right.
And so it's not an imposition to be that person. It's a privilege, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Have you ever done something that it didn't come out right? You said something that came out wrong and you were embarrassed?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
And you survived it?
Pretty much so, yeah. I'm still trying to witness. I guess that's a good thing.
I find that. Sometimes you say things and you go, "Oh, that didn't come out right." And people are so afraid of that. But I've done it a lot of times. And I find out I survived. It's not the end of the world, is it?
Right, no, it's not.
If you're afraid of failure, you can't do this.
Yeah, you learn that a lot in school because you always say wrong things I find myself saying some wrong things a lot at school.
Mm-hmm.
But kids are very forgiving, and usually teachers are too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Now, have you had a time when you tried to share with someone and they didn't receive it at first, but then later they came back to you and said, you know, I need to talk to you more about that? You had that happen?
Yes, I have, but actually they didn't come back.
Wow.
Mm-mm.
Now, when you share with someone, do you start praying for them all the time? Do you have a prayer list, or you just pray according to how the Lord puts them on your heart?
I do have a prayer list a lot of times because I'm praying for teachers and students, and they come to my mind when I think of them, and I have another list that I go through on weekends that might be those extra people that that I haven't thought about in a while, maybe that I need to continue to pray for.
Well, I just really appreciate the genuineness that you do this with. And you're in a setting where, you know, some people feel like, well, we can't speak about Christ. And you're not defiant. You love your school. You're considered a great employee, and we know that. But yet, you're a Christian, and, you know, who He is in you just comes out. And that's neat.
Well, thank you. Every day I walk in that door of school, I ask the Lord to please help me represent Him well, because I know there's so many people that have the attitude of, well, I'm not going to church. There's too many hypocrites there.
Yeah.
And if I act just like they do, and I do fail a lot of times at school, and right afterwards I'm like, oh, well, that wasn't very good. I need to do better. I need to represent Christ better than that. And I'm aware, the Lord is making me more aware of that kind of lifestyle, as opposed to just going along with what everybody's kind of saying. Because I'm like, who would they have to help them, or who would they call on?
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah,
I want to be that person.
Right. And you have been. I know my own self, I know several times where that's happened through the years, and I've kind of heard the story. And that's really neat. And I didn't hear it from you. I heard it from other people telling me about it. So it's pretty amazing. So talk to the person that's out there going, okay, I have a job, and we have this policy. We're not supposed to bring up religion or whatever, but I've got a burden to share and reach out to my, you know, fellow employees. What would you say to them? Where should they start? How should they go about it?
I think that you first of all got to prepare yourself. I just find that if I don't spend time with the Lord in the morning, then my focus isn't right. And I would say you got to focus and ask Him to help you to see Him in every, I think what it is that when I see people, I'm like, the Lord brings to my inside heart, I wonder if that person's a Christian. Wow. I can't claim that I can do that. I don't do that. And I've realized that it's not me, but it's Him that's making me more sensitive. So I guess maybe praying for sensitivity to what's beyond what's on the outside, because everybody needs Christ. And just because they're happy on the outside, drinking a cup of coffee, doesn't mean that there's not something going on. And I just try to be real sensitive and even just say a good word for the Lord in His behalf, so that maybe they might get an idea that someday they might feel open to maybe come to me or ask me to pray for one thing.
Yeah.
Most of the time it's pray.
Yeah, and you do, and that's neat. That's neat. You know, we're talking about tell someone about what the Lord's doing in your life, and tell someone what the Lord's doing in your church, and you can do that. And it's, if you'll just start praying, God, give me a chance to talk to someone about you, to talk to someone about our church, you'll be amazed at how many times God opens the door.